The red Honda Civic sat perfectly positioned between the white lines of the highway shoulder, engine still warm, driver's door hanging open like a mouth frozen mid-scream. But Sarah Chen had vanished into the October night without a trace, until 4 years later, when security footage from a long-closed gas station would reveal something that made even seasoned detectives question everything they thought they knew about that terrible evening. What the cameras captured wasn't Sarah running from danger. It was Sarah running toward something far worse. Sarah Chen had always been the type of person who planned everything down to the minute. Her co-workers at the marketing firm knew her as the woman who color-coded her calendar, who kept backup phone chargers in 3 different bags, who never missed a deadline. So when she failed to show up for her morning presentation on October 16, her assistant Maya Rodriguez knew something was catastrophically wrong. She was supposed to pitch the Henderson account, Maya told Detective James Hawthorne that afternoon, her voice trembling. Sarah would crawl to work with broken legs before she'd miss something that important. The last confirmed sighting was at 9:47 p.m. the previous evening, Sarah leaving her apartment building, captured on the lobby security camera. She wore her favorite navy blazer and carried the leather portfolio she'd bought to celebrate her promotion. The footage showed her checking her phone, smiling at something on the screen, then disappearing through the glass doors into the night. By 11:30 p.m., her car was found abandoned on Interstate 495, hazard lights blinking like a distress beacon. Her purse remained in the passenger seat, credit cards and cash untouched. Her phone lay on the dashboard, the screen cracked in a spider web pattern that caught the red and blue of the police lights. Detective Hawthorne had worked missing persons for 15 years, but Sarah's case gnawed at him differently. There was no evidence of struggle, no signs of mechanical failure, no reason for her to have stopped. The car's interior was pristine except for one detail that made him pause, a small pile of dried wildflowers on the driver's seat, as if someone had carefully placed them there as an offering. "Who leaves flowers in their own car?" he muttered to his partner, Detective Lisa Reeves, as they processed the scene. Maya had her own theories. In the months following Sarah's disappearance, she became obsessed with finding answers. She'd known Sarah since college, they'd been roommates at Boston University, sharing late-night study sessions and dreams of corporate success. But Maya also knew Sarah's secret, the recurring nightmares that had plagued her since childhood, visions of a woman in white who called to her from dark places. She used to wake up screaming, Maya confided to the detectives during one of many interviews. She'd say the woman was getting closer, that she could smell lilacs in the air even though it was the middle of winter. "I thought it was just stress from work, but now..." Maya's voice trailed off as she pulled out her phone, scrolling to a text message dated October 15, 2020, 9:52 p.m., "She's here. I can see her now. She's beautiful. I understand why they went to her." The call came on a Tuesday morning, jarring Detective Hawthorne from his coffee and case files. A demolition crew working on the old Sunset gas station had found something in the manager's office, a box of surveillance tapes from 2020 that had somehow survived 4 years of abandonment and neglect. The gas station sat 12 miles from where Sarah's car was found, in the opposite direction from her apartment. There was no logical reason for her to have been there that night, which made what Hawthorne saw on the grainy footage all the more disturbing. The timestamp read 10:23 p.m. A red Honda Civic pulled into the station's parking lot, its headlights cutting through the darkness. The driver, unmistakably Sarah Chen, stepped out of the car with purpose, not panic. She looked around the empty lot, then walked directly to the treeline behind the station as if she knew exactly where she was going. But she wasn't alone. A figure in white moved between the trees, barely visible in the camera's range. Tall, graceful, beckoning. Sarah followed without hesitation, her movements fluid and dreamlike. The footage showed her pause at the forest's edge, turn back toward the camera, and smile, an expression of pure, terrifying joy. Then both figures vanished into the darkness. Hawthorne watched the tape 17 times before calling Maya. She arrived at the station within an hour, her face gaunt from 4 years of sleepless nights and unanswered questions. "That's not Sarah," she whispered as they watched the footage together. "I mean, it is Sarah, but look at her eyes. She looks happy. Peaceful. Like she's finally going home." Maya had spent the years since Sarah's disappearance researching everything she could about the area where the car was found. Local folklore spoke of a woman in white who appeared to travelers on lonely roads, luring them into the forest with promises of peace and belonging. 7 people had vanished from that stretch of highway over the past century, always in October, always leaving behind cars that showed no signs of struggle. I found something else, Maya said, pulling out a manila folder thick with printouts and photographs. Sarah's great-grandmother, Chen Mei Lin, disappeared in 1952. Same highway, same circumstances. And her grandmother wrote in her diary about dreams of a beautiful woman who promised to take away all their pain. The pattern was undeniable. Each generation of Sarah's family had been touched by these visions, these calls from something that waited in the woods. Sarah hadn't been the victim of a random crime, she'd been answering a summons that had echoed through her bloodline for decades. 3 weeks after finding the surveillance footage, a hiker discovered Sarah's body in a clearing 2 miles from the abandoned gas station. She lay on a bed of wildflowers, arms crossed over her chest, face serene as if she were simply sleeping. The coroner would later determine that she'd been dead for exactly 4 years, though her body showed no signs of decomposition. Beside her lay a handwritten note in Sarah's careful script, "I finally understand why they called us. The woman in white isn't taking us, she's bringing us home. The pain stops here. The dreams stop here. But someone else will hear her voice soon. Someone else will see her standing at the edge of the trees, beautiful and patient and kind. Tell them not to be afraid." Maya read the note with trembling hands, then looked up at Detective Hawthorne with eyes full of terrible knowledge. "She's calling to me now," she whispered. "In my dreams. She's so beautiful, and she promises the nightmares will stop." That night, Maya's apartment was found empty, her car parked outside with the engine running and the driver's door open. On the passenger seat lay a small pile of dried wildflowers and a note that read, "October 15, 2025. Tell my sister I'm sorry." Detective Hawthorne retired the following spring, but he still drives past that stretch of Interstate 495 every October. He keeps a folder in his car filled with missing person reports, always women, always in October, always leaving behind cars with no signs of struggle and small piles of wildflowers on the seats. The pattern continues. The woman in white continues to call. And somewhere in the forest, where the moonlight filters through ancient trees and the air smells eternally of lilacs, Sarah Chen and Maya Rodriguez and all the others wait in perfect peace, their earthly pain finally ended. But the clearing grows larger each year, and there's always room for one more dreamer who hears the gentle voice calling from the darkness, promising rest, promising home, promising that the nightmares will finally, forever, stop. The surveillance footage from the Sunset gas station plays on an endless loop in the evidence room, showing the same scene over and over, a woman walking willingly toward something beautiful and terrible, smiling as she crosses the threshold between worlds. And if you look closely at the treeline in the final frames, you can see them all, a gathering of women in white, arms outstretched, waiting for the next lost soul who will hear their voices on the wind and understand that some mysteries are invitations, not crimes. The highway stretches on through the October night, and somewhere in the darkness, she's still calling.